see. Okay, I think we're good. All right, so we're going to get started. Thank you all again for being here. This really means a lot to me that you all could join us on a Monday night. Tim and I are leaving on a vacation tomorrow, so it had to be tonight. Many of you I know already. I'm Kathy Crawford, and I wanted to have this event this evening to officially launch the book. For those of you that may not be in Houston, but also I have some folks that are in Houston that couldn't come to the in-person launch that we had last month. So thank you all for coming. I'm very excited to have Maria Merrill here. Maria is going to be the MC and the interviewer. Maria and I, oh, go ahead, Maria.
No.
I was just going to say, we've known each other for quite a long time now. First met through yoga, and we're both writers. And Maria is one of my first readers, what many of you know in the writing world. It's always great to have somebody read your work in a close way and give you feedback on that and things to consider. And so Maria's been very close to me over the years in many ways, and I'm excited to have her here. Maria, did you want to share anything?
No, I'm very excited to be here, and I'm excited about Kathy having her poem collection coming out. And I think you were going to post in the chat the link to the book. It's not showing up, or at least it's not showing up on my end.
Okay. Oh, look at that. Thank you for telling me that, because I put it in there and then I did not hit the send.
Good. So just to sort of orient everyone in space, the way this is going to go is we're going to start with just a little bit of housekeeping, and then I'm going to interview Kathy 2 or 3 questions, and then Kathy's going to read 3 poems, and then at the end we're going to have a Q&A. And so if questions come up that you want to ask, it would be great if you jot those down and just wait till the end to unmute yourself so that we can sort of keep the poems together, the interview together, and then have the questions at the end. But we really do encourage your questions, and they can be whatever's on your mind about what Kathy is sharing and the poetry. So don't think that it's a silly question, is what I guess I want to make sure. So does that sound good with everybody? Everybody's okay with that? Okay. Okay.
Fantastic.
So if you haven't purchased the book, I highly recommend that you do, because it is the reduced rate right now through July 25th, and then the order will be shipped September 19th or from that date on. And the thing is, if you don't know, pre-orders are one way that the publishing industry figures out how popular the book's going to be or how many they want to print. So it's really important for authors of any level to encourage people to purchase books. So I'm just doing a plug here for Kathy and all of us that are writers and understanding the writing process or the publishing process. Okay. So any questions? Okay. You guys are a good audience. So Kathy, talk to us, or at least start with sort of sharing how you became interested in writing, or your journey into writing.
Sure. It's interesting because I never set out to write a book. So this in and of itself is something that was realized that I did not have on the plan per se. But I've always been a writer. I've always been a reader. I've been a reader from a very young age. I love reading. People who know me know that I read a lot of books every year. And, they say a lot of readers become writers, and I can say that that's true a lot of the times. But also in my HR career, I've done a lot of writing. I write job descriptions, policies, interview guides, training manuals, all of those things. And I'm famous for my red pen because I do help people with their resumes, and I will mark up the page. So I've always been a writer, and I think it just sort of, for me, eventually I was curious about writing creatively somewhat through you, Maria, in the sense that when we went through yoga training, we did a lot of journaling and writing in that way. And then you started having little, mini classes that I would go to, and I would write and we would create. And I really enjoyed that. And it really sparked that desire in me again to write stories and write poetry. So that's really how it started. And then I practiced as I was taking classes, and I published a couple zines on Amazon just to practice that. And I wrote some training manuals that I've published and things like that. So, yeah. Oh, you're muted. Sorry.
Thanks. And
That's
Kathy's
okay.
a very quick learner. I just want to point out, when you were taking one poetry class, it was learning, like each assignment was like a specific, like a sonnet or a Villarreal or something. And I was like, oh my goodness, I can't believe you're doing that. So Kathy's always up for a challenge when it comes to writing. So you
Yes.
put a poetry collection together. Um, Tell us
Mhm.
sort of about those themes and how that came to be. Yeah.
Yeah, so one of the things that I did is when I realized I was getting a little more serious about the writing and enjoying it so much, I had taken some classes with Kate Weiss Orcutt during COVID. And Kate completed her PhD at the University of Houston. She was teaching through Imprint. That's how we initially met. Then she moved to Columbus. So she's there now. So she does a lot of her classes online. Many in the room have taken classes from Kate. And I I realized that I didn't really know a lot about the form of poetry. I didn't know a lot about creative writing, the technical aspects of it, I guess. And at the same time, I was not going to go back and get an MFA, not at this stage of my life. And so I hired Kate to be my coach in writing because I decided to do my own do-it-yourself MFA. And one of the things that Kate said to me as we were talking through, well, what do you need to do to really learn? What do you read? What kind of classes, and so on and so forth. One of the things that she said is that in an MFA program, you write a book as your capstone project. And so that little seed was in my brain. And then with that, these themes started coming about as I started to kind of talk with her and work with her. But also, I'll share real quick. I took a class from Kendra Preston Leonard, and I'm looking for oh, there it is, on creating a chapbook. And one of the exercises that we did, I don't know if everybody can see this on their screen, but this is a word cloud that I put together of all of the themes that were really coming out from what I was writing. And so you'll notice some of the things in here around aging, transforming, transitions, belonging. There's some humor in my writing. There's addiction in my family. I write about that. Finding my voice. So these are some of the themes that come through. And so I started to see that through line essentially from this exercise. And one of the other things that she had us do was then take what we've already written and start to put it together into the form of a book. What would be the opening poem? What would be the closing poem? And so on and so forth. So that's really how it started coming together. And then working with Kate, of course, she was guiding me as well.
And so how did then, so you're working on like your corner, your main project, but then how did you make that leap to consider the light? Because it's one thing as an author to say, okay, I'm going to, or a poet, I'm going to create a collection, but another one to get it out into the universe.
Oh, yes, yes, indeed. Okay, so every class that you take with an instructor, and I noticed, Catherine Culpa is on the call tonight as well. And Catherine, I want to shout out. She's been a great teacher for me. too, and also has read some of my newer collections that I haven't really sent out as much yet. But there's a whole process behind submitting your work. And all of the instructors that you take classes from are telling you, please send this out, please send this out. And you're like, really? So you start to get your mind wrapped around, okay, yeah, I can send that out and somebody might publish it. So I learned all about the submittal process, and I have probably a too in-depth process that I have lots of spreadsheets and ways that I tick and tie and track and, all of that. But over time, I was getting those pieces picked up. Then it was researching where would I send a book. And I'll point out at this stage that it's a chapbook. And what that means is that it's less than 40 pages, essentially. So it's a shorter book. And it also is what we call a hybrid because it has poetry and creative nonfiction. And I write short creative nonfiction, less than 1,000 words. And so there were some pieces I actually wrote in Catherine's class that ended up in this manuscript. So I started sending out the chapbook, and I was sending it out, but I was also updating it at the same time. I'd send it out, but I had to keep track. So I sent it to this publisher, and this is the version that I sent. And then I had another version that I sent to a different publisher. So I sent it out to 16 publishers over 15 months. And Finishing Line Press was a press that Varsha Soraya Shaw, who's on the call, I had read her book and I knew that she had been published by them, as well as Luann Castle, who had been in the class with me, and Catherine. So anyway, you find these books that you like and you say, well, where were they published? And, okay, I'm going to send my book in there. And so they picked me as a best entry. So they had a top 5 for that contest. And then I was in kind of the next group. And, then from there, I learned all about the actual publishing process. Yeah.
Can you share your poems with us? Because I think that would be a really nice entry into what people can sort of expect.
Oh, you bet. Okay, yeah. So for tonight,
Or did you want to
I
say
am.
something before then?
Oh,
No?
that's okay. No, I'm
Okay.
good. Thank you. Hopefully others are thinking about questions that they can ask at the end. And if you have those, you can drop those in the chat as well. So for tonight, I wanted to read 3 poems that are considered self-portrait poems. And a self-portrait poem is something that captures a portrait of the poet, written by the poet, and reflect on an aspect of who they are. So I'm going to pull them up because sometimes people like to read along. And also the first poem is visually, it makes a difference to have it up as a visual. So this first one is Self-Portrait as Make-Believe, and it's a lyrical poem that reflects on my childhood. Self-Portrait as Make-Believe. When I was 5 or 6, my bedroom blossomed with what my mother called the pretending people. Like a linchpin slipped through the axle of a wheel. They must have held me as flour binds a tough cookie, protecting the softness inside. All right. The next one I'm going to read is started with a question. And this was in Kate's class, actually. And it was, when you hear the phrase lost year or lost season, what time of your life comes to mind? And for me, that was when I returned to college at 25 to go back to Kent State University and complete my degree that I had started before I left Ohio at 19 to move to Houston for work. All right. The title of this one is Self-Portrait at 25. It's all late nights at the executive oak desk given to you for free by your past employer. A desk as heavy as your course load. It's the 3-year grind you signed up for. the value of a college education to pull you out of the working class. It's all creative financing. It's saying no to money from your family. It's okay to live with them, to accept food and clothing, but not money. Self-funded, how you will know you did it yourself. It's all showtime that first day of the fall semester, walking into class, knowing it's non-traditional to be Kathy Lynn Crawford, one of 3 students over the average age of 22 and a half. It's your dad in your ear. I'm so proud of you. Don't give up. It's all Madonna's big perm, neon blue shirt, oversized leather jacket, high-waisted jeans, tucked into snow boots, stomping across campus. It's the dank smell of ice melting, bare trees and sky. It's nature's shifting seasons as you work and study with no respite. It's study time all the time. It's heavy books in your backpack, writing longhand, researching at the library. It's realizing you live in a mecca for music. Maybe you should find time to listen. It's Michael Stanley at the Agora, serenading Cleveland with My Town. It's Joe Walsh at the KSU Memorial Gym, singing Life's Been Good. It's nights at JB's on Water Street, pretending to be free enough to dance and drink the night away. Books and bills be damned. It's a dalliance with a younger man picked up at the bar. It's forgetting your false start, post-high school, Texas move for work before this. It's leaving behind this sad, cold Ohio life. It's grinding through the finish line to a future you believe will be better, must be better. Thank you. I have one more I'll share. And this one is speaking to the relationship that I had with my father. And I apologize if I get emotional because I always do when I read this. So, and we were very close. This one is called Self-Portrait as Riding Shotgun. Remembering my last road trip with Dad in his purple pickup truck, the color of Barney. Dad comfortable behind the wheel. He refused to fly on a plane. He was in charge and would not let me drive. We adventured the first time for a 36-hour drive when I turned 19 and moved south. Dad drove shotgun behind my car, guarding me in transit, making sure I arrived safely. This time, I rode shotgun next to my dad, now 70, keeping an eye out for dangerous conditions, as focused as a polar bear protecting her cub. I am not a girly girl. I am my daddy's girl, outcasts of our family of 7, 2 one-of-a-kinds like the color purple, not primary hues, more independent, awarded our own kind of Purple Heart for bravery. We didn't know this would be Dad's last road trip to Texas, not because he didn't want to make the drive every year, but because I didn't want him driving alone. After 4 hours, we had not stopped, nor would we, except for gas or a nap by the side of the road. I was required to hold it until we stopped. I sat straight up with good posture and good humor and engaged in lively debate to keep him awake. I pestered him to check into a motel for sleep and a shower. Finally, we stopped in Memphis and stayed at the Relax Inn, back on the road before sunrise. In the early morning hours, Dad pulled into a gas station in a part of town we did not know. He casually strode in and out of the C-store to pay the cashier as I held my breath. Anything could happen to him. Even then, I knew how precious this moment in time was to me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kathy, for sharing those. And I love how you picked the 3 self-portrait ones as a grouping for this evening. And I'm curious, like, as an author, do you think about, what your readers' experiences or what they would want or you would want them sort of to
Mm.
carry with them from your poems, or what your,
Yeah.
can you talk a little
Yeah,
bit to that?
I
'Cause-
will. It's interesting when I was going through this process and deciding what to call the collection, which is a decision in and of itself. And a lot of times what's recommended is you have an anchor poem or a line, or there's something inside the collection that ends up being your title. And you won't find "Consider the Light" as a line in my book. However, to me, it's the feeling about sort of what ultimately I've done in my life. And that is, regardless of those headwinds, those hardships or heartbreaks that I found along the way, I kept looking for the light, looking for the workarounds, looking for the ways, if this isn't going to work, what can I try instead? And I would love for people to get that energy out of reading the collection, be inspired. And even if one person, there's a poem that holds a special place in their heart, then it's been worth it.
and and even though we don't have the book yet in front of us, you've shared with some of us about the cover, but maybe others don't know the
Yes.
story about how cover, like how much does the author get to choose, or how are covers? Can you say a little bit
Yes.
about that?
That was a journey in itself. So I belong to an organization here in Houston called the Women in the Visual and Literary Arts, and Margot's on the call. Margot and Varsha too are both members. There's probably some other members on here as well. But anyway, it's been a great, very supportive group, and I love the combination of visual art and writing. And one of the things that we do every other year is a collaboration. So a writer and an artist get together and create something that will be shared in an anthology. And an anthology is where you have different writers, and it gets put into a book and sold. Brooke Summers Perry invited me to be her partner. And she and I started talking about my collection, and the poem that she was inspired by is called Being. And from that, she created the artwork that's on the cover. Now, we didn't start out thinking that would be the cover, right? But while I was sort of getting accepted by Finishing Line Press, and then, she and I are working together on this collaboration, it just really sort of all came together. And it turns out that's the cover on the anthology as well, because it is so good. So that's kind of how that came about.
Can you say, just since we don't see it, can you just explain? I
Uh-huh.
mean, even though a picture's just
Oh,
a
yeah.
thousand words or something, just share a little bit of what it, or I
And
don't.
I apologize for not having that ready.
I didn't think about that, but if that's something you want to keep
I
a secret, that's also
Yeah,
not a secret, but as a surprise.
let me, what was your question again? And I have it in here.
Well, just wondering
So,
if you wanted to share what the cover is gonna look like, or what
looks like,
the piece was that in the
oh,
the
okay.
collaboration.
Um,
But it's okay if that's not in.
here's the cover.
There you go.
Here's the cover. Yeah, there's the cover.
And we're gonna
Unfortunately.
go straight into the Q&A.
Okay.
So
Great.
I don't know if you guys want to just raise your hand, and I don't feel the need to have to call on people, but just if we can do it organically, or if a lot of people speak at the same time, then I guess I will call out.
I
Yes.
see Jiminy has a
Okay.
question.
Go for it.
I sort of put it in the chat group,
Oh,
but
Okay.
I guess I'm curious how you choose poetry. And I know you did, some of the short fiction as well, but they seem to be, quite different types of forms. So just really
Yeah.
curious how you choose that.
Excellent question. Thank you. I didn't talk about that, but it is a little unusual to have the two combined. And Kate and I talked a lot about that, because people are expecting when they buy a poetry book, they're expecting poetry, right? When they buy a book with short stories, that's what they're looking for. So you can sort of jolt the reader a little bit when they've been reading some poems and then, oh, now there's a story. So one of the things that I did in terms of craft is to break each story up. So it's, first of all, it's short. And then second of all, I would put sections in it that made sense. So it's 3 sections in one story. So it almost reads like mini prose poems inside of a story. So that seemed to work pretty well. And the other thing I was just attuned to was you don't want too many of each, right? You want to make sure that there's a balance in there. And it also, Dominique, kind of goes with the arc of the book. So, you know, as you go through the book, it starts out in my early life, essentially, through to the present. So there's also that sort of arc in there. Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks.
Nicole has a question about if you worked with an agent to get your book considered for publication.
I did not. I did not work with an agent, and there's a whole thing about agents and sort of maybe with a novel or other types of books, nonfiction, you might need an agent to help you with that. We, in the literary community, it is pretty amazing how much support there is, how many options there are in terms of submitting your work in the I'm speaking to the poetry world, I'm speaking to Flash, that there are so many. I wish people would read more literary magazines online, and you can buy those anthologies. I mean, this work is amazing. There's so many great writers out there. So there is this process that you can get things in front of the right people to, or the publisher. So this is an indie publisher. This isn't one of the majors either, you know? So if you got a novel that you want, you know, published by a major publisher, you're gonna need an agent. So I hope that answers the question.
Yeah. What else are people curious about?
I have a question. Hi, it's Becky. So I know, Kathy, that this has been such a big focus of yours for the last, I don't know how long, a while. Now that you're coming to publishing, do you consider this complete? Are you on to something new? What comes next, and what kind of emotions are coming up for you to see this thing you've been working on for so long physically in your hand and in the hands of so many people that also enjoy and support you?
Great question. It's interesting. I am the kind of person that I like having a lot of different things going on at the same time. When I created my business, I created the right job for me because I'm involved in coaching and consulting and working with people in all sorts of different ways. Is true with my creative side. So writing a book, like I say, I wasn't expecting it, but now that I've done that, that's fun, that's exciting, and I'm very happy and proud of it. I actually have 2 more that I'm submitting right now. And I worked with Catherine to help me with that. She has read this other collection multiple times, and I ended up splitting it out into 2, and I've started to submit that. What I'm curious about now is writing more flash fiction. So moving a little bit away from more personal stories into creating stories, you know, and working with that short approach still. But the other thing I've been doing is mixed media. Lorette Lezajic could not be on tonight. She wanted to be, but she realized she's in Canada and she realized the time, although, you know, Catherine, it's late there for you too, but she didn't get the time difference and so she couldn't join us. But anyway, she teaches a lot of classes on ekphrastic writing. I do have some ekphrastic poems in my collection. And what that is being inspired from art. So being is a form of ekphrastic poem, although it started with the poem and then the art was created. A lot of times we look at the art and we create the writing from that. So mixed media, I've been taking some classes. I actually, for the first time, put some paint on canvas, and I'm just really excited about that. So I am going to have a creative life regardless. We'll just see where the journey takes us.
And then Catherine has asked here in the chat, thinking of climate change this week especially, and knowing that it's a theme in your chapbook, is it also a theme in Consider the Light? Climate change.
There are several poems in there that speak to climate change. And I've also had some that I've written since then that are in these newer collections. So yeah, I do touch on that. Yeah, absolutely. I think there's one in there. Oh, I don't remember if it's in this collection or the other one. It's called 2019 was a very hot year, which has been published online. But that's a definite, climate change.
I was
Yeah.
thinking of that piece, and and just
Okay.
the kind of grim irony of what's happened in Texas, and and
Yeah,
pretty close to home for you, and
it is. Yeah. Mhm. Yeah, it is. And yeah, it's happening everywhere now. So it's very concerning. Mhm. Thank you.
Varsha, you've got a question. Can you unmute?
Actually, I have more a comment rather than question. I got to read Kathy's, I think it was version 2, the whole book. And I was so thrilled because it has it's a very, it looked ambitious at first, but then this at the same time, the versatility of her hybrid collection, it appealed to me a lot I mainly write only poetry, but I do write a lot of prose kind of poetry. And it gave me also a really looking back at my zillion little journals and over the years that I've been writing. And I said, this is really inspiring, Kathy, to what you've done. And
Oh, thank you, Varsha.
having even a beautiful, that black and white photograph of sitting on the outside on the porch, and I forget the name of that poem.
Yeah.
And I thought that Consider the Light, yeah, it had the same, I think it had the same title at the time, the version.
Yes.
Yeah.
And thank you for reading that version too.
Yeah. And I was wondering, like we just explained it, or rather, shed light on it, that it's not an anchor poem, but it really, your persona, it vibrates through that persona of all your pieces, vibrates through that title. And I was thrilled that, wow, it's lucky to have something like that which ties all the poems together. So Kathy and I have known each other
Thank
for some
you.
time now, and I'm so proud of all of this, Kathy. It's just amazing.
Thank you so much.
The way
Thank you
you
so
are,
much. And thank you for being here.
Oh, my pleasure, my pleasure, really. Yeah. And I wish you good
Yeah.
luck with all the both other books, and I'll hopefully see them before they get published.
Yes, exactly.
So thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny how that is. Oh, sorry, Margot. Margot's got a question.
Excuse me. I was just wondering if you were planning on taking your book and maybe going on tour. Like
Oh,
you
yeah.
could combine, vacations, traveling, and you've got the book and you take it
Okay,
to
well,
tours and whatever, and yeah. That would
well,
be
Dave, you set me up in Minnesota there. And then Becky and Patrick, I'll be in Colorado, sure, I don't mind.
yeah, that would be awesome.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, Margot. I have been reading more thanks to Margot. She runs a monthly reading at the Archway Gallery, and people should come. It's over here on Dunleavy in Houston, and a lot of different writers come and read their work. And so I was very nervous at first, even though I've done a lot of public speaking in my life. presentations, training, I've been up in front of groups a lot. It's different when you're, you're reading your stories, right? And that emotional side of it. And so Marga really helped me get over that hump and get comfortable. It's a very welcoming group. So I highly, highly recommend that. Yeah. Thank you, Margo.
Abby's got her hand up.
Hey, Abby. Oh, you need to
Don't
unmute.
forget to unmute. Yes.
Hi everyone. I met Kathi when we did the our work was also selected in the value review, and that's how I met her. And I think the title of our piece was For Immediate Release. I read that and I was blown away. I was like, wow, I need to get with this lady. But my question is, now the book is published, what has the transition been for you as a writer and a first-time publisher, and the marketing that comes with it? So if you can throw more
Yeah.
light, because I'm also a new writer, how is the transition for you? The reality,
You bet.
expectation, and reality.
It's a great question. I have to tell you, okay, because I'm also having my own business, I know about marketing, I kind of knew it was coming, but at the same time, the book was picked up, last year, I don't remember, August timeframe. So I knew I had all this time to figure out what would my marketing plan be. But of course, I waited until, the last minute. They had recommended a book called PR for Poets. And I bought the book and I held on to it. I had it out, I was going to read it. And I didn't read it. I didn't. But right before I knew, once I got the dates, right, when it was going to be available for pre-order and all of that, was when it really was starting to sink in. And that was earlier this year. And so, I put together a plan for PR. At the same time, I still panicked, Abby. I mean, it's a lot of work, but anybody that, and you know that because you have a new book as well. And if you guys want Abby's book, it's on Amazon, Abby Keesington, and it's called Finish Line. I just finished it. And it's a great book. It's all poetry. I really kind of had to learn and practice. And I will tell you, although I know a lot of writers are against AI, for marketing purposes, it's very useful. It helps me formulate plans, create outlines, and sort of test a little bit. I still end up writing whatever I'm publishing or, on Instagram or LinkedIn or what have you. But it was helping me sort of think through and organize what it is I needed to get done. It's not a perfect process. I have met some new people who've bought the book as a result of what I'm doing, but it's sort of little by little. So I think it's just sort of, learning along the way and finding ways in which you can share about your work that isn't overwhelming. Because the other thing I have to say is, like, you cannot overwhelm yourself with the marketing piece. Do what you can, create readers out there in the ways that you can do that, and then let it go, because there's no perfect formula.
Thank you.
You bet. All right. I'm
Anyone
so excited y'all are here. Any other questions? It's so good to see your faces. I'm going to put in here, if you didn't catch the live launch, I'm going to put it in the chat. I actually learned how to set up a YouTube channel. Speaking of marketing. And I had some friends at the in-person launch who captured it by video and then helped me kind of clean it up. And I learned how to upload it to my YouTube channel. So it's there. If you haven't watched it, you can watch it. I've read different pieces in that. And if you are curious about the poem for the cover, I read it for that book launch as well.
And one thing I just wanted to point out goes piggybacking with Abby, what you said or asked, is that Kathy, you've shared how much time and energy the marketing has taken you, and you are a very disciplined and organized person. So I think it's pretty, it's like I can't imagine trying to do that and also be able to have time for your creativity and your full-time job, right? Like it just
Yeah.
seems like to manage expectations, how hard it must be. I don't know if you want to comment on that or not, but I've noticed
Yeah.
that, you've been working really hard on the media, getting it out there, and just knowing how much time that takes, right? A YouTube
No,
channel.
that's a good question.
know.
I will tell you, I believe in chunking your time. I use my calendar for everything. And so one thing that I realized in this process is the most important time for me to do the marketing for this book is during this pre-order period. This is when, it's sort of, they determine how many they're going to print, all of those kinds of things. So the best time for me to get out there is right now and through the 25th. So the other thing is I believe things kind of fall in place if you just let them, in a way, like, just don't push it. Things tend to fall. I've been very busy with my business. I've had a lot of recruiting projects this year and a couple coaching projects that have taken a lot of time, but they would start and end just in time for me to do my marketing. So, it's just a sort of flow that we hope we all can sort of be in. Whenever I have to push things in a certain way, they don't work out. So I do sort of I do as much as I can, and then I let things kind of go. And yeah, so
Good advice.
yeah, great. Well, if there aren't any other questions, I'm going to turn off the recording.